I have the feeling of the international momentum we are creating here, plus the amount of financial resources coming through, plus the next steps we have in mind. Many years from now, in the future, when we look back, we will see that the 14th of May 2024 will be considered or remembered as the turning point to address this issue. Today's fresh, new announcements at this very meeting accounts $2.2 billion. In addition to all the announcements made before, today's announcements coming from the public sources and private sources. This makes us very happy, and I know that a significant part of it comes from public sources in terms of concession funding, which will in turn unlock significant amount of private capital. What is after this? So at the IEA, as I said, we are a data organization. We believe in data. What we are going to do, all these announcements and commitments, one by one, we will put in our website. And we will follow up what is happening with this money. And in 1 year of time, we are going to share it with everybody what happened to this $2.2 billion. We'll follow it as if it is our own money. It is not our money. We have a small organization, small budget, but a big heart. But we will take care of this money, and we will see how this money is spent, and we will share the results with the international community. Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, friends, colleagues, greetings from the International Energy Agency headquarters in Paris. We are here today to reaffirm our strong commitment and mark the progress on a often overlooked a key issue, which is clean cooking. Generally, it is overlooked, but many of you know, I hope all of you know, that the International Energy Agency over 2 decades took clean cooking as a key priority. Before we go to our session, I wanted to thank my co-chairs for their leadership. President Ruto of Kenya, thank you very much, Mr. President. Prime Minister of Norway, Støre, thank you very much to Norway. And Secretary of Energy of the United States, Chris Wright, thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. Your presence today sends a clear signal of the high-level commitment we are building around clean cooking, even though circumstances led us to difficult joint decision to postpone the second Clean Cooking Summit that was to take place in Nairobi today. Dear colleagues, you just saw a video from the first summit on clean cooking in Africa we hosted here in Paris. At that summit, we had several heads of states from Africa and Europe. We had dozens of energy ministers. We had many energy companies, investors, and over 1,200 delegates around the world. And we have mobilized, as I mentioned in the video, $2.2 billion of new commitments. Today, I am very pleased to let you know that we have tracked what happened with $2.2 billion as I promised at that summit, and our tracking job shows that out of this $2.2 billion, 750 million has been dispersed, because 2.2 billion was to be dispersed between 2024 and 2030. Up to now, 750 million has been disturbed, and through 30 African countries. What kind of projects? They range from LPG terminals and electric cooking in Kenya, to new stove factories in Nigeria, LPG storage and mass stove procurement in Tanzania, and deployment of stoves in Senegal. At that very meeting, working with the countries, we encouraged them to come up with the concrete clean cooking policies, and I am very happy to see that our tracking report shows since then 120 new clean cooking policies in Africa have been developed. And in fact, you can find all this information in our annual tracking report. We will publish every year what happened with this money and which projects they have been used for. You also heard that at that summit I said, I hope 2024 could be a turning point in the clean cooking in Africa. Indeed, what we have seen in the year 2025, the clean cooking access in Africa increased by a factor of 3. And this is compared to the previous years. This is a very good news. And when we look at how it happened, more than 90% of the access of clean cooking was due to LPG accession. And in addition to that, we have seen in some countries electric and modern bioenergy cooking solutions also provided some support. Having said that, even though there was a turning point, as we see, an acceleration of the clean cooking access, we are far from where we would like to see. Today, according to our numbers, still 4 out of 5 families in Africa use primitive cooking practices. And it has many implications, and one of them is, in my view, the key one, is this causes more than 850,000 premature deaths in Africa due to the air pollution, and it impacts on the respiratory diseases. And 850 people die prematurely, and in fact, most of them are women and children. Dear colleagues, let me tell you a few things and then pass the floor to other the co-chairs. We are going through the process of the second summit. The first summit was in Paris, and the second summit will take place in Kenya. And I am very happy to say or share with you, and we are sharing this with the international press today. Since Paris summit, we also raised about $900 million additional financial commitments. This is coming mainly from the private sectors around the world to deploy clean cooking in Africa. And I am very happy to see that there is a lot of potential to increase this amount. A second point I want to mention is that more than 18 countries in Africa are prepared to announce at our next summit new concrete policies and implementation programs, how they are going to improve the clean cooking in their countries. And we are working with the African Union closely here, Madam Commissioners with us, and this is in line with the clean cooking agreement we had in the roadmap we agreed in the G20 in South Africa. Third point I would like to make, dear colleagues, is that the LPG is not immune to energy security problems. We have seen during the Strait of Hormuz crisis, many parts of the energy world has been affected, but LPG supply has been disproportionately affected. And our numbers show that the 3.4 billion people around the world, most of them in Africa, have been negatively affected as a result of the LPG crisis. Many countries now have less than 15 days of fuel storage, and it is the reason many countries around the world, from Bangladesh to Uganda, contacted the IEA how we can improve the LPG security. It is the reason that we are now developing, creating a new clean cooking security program. This is very important because we need to build storage capacity, working with the public and private sector, and making the advanced economies and the countries who use a lot of LPG in Africa connect and work together. International Energy Agency's key priority is energy security. You all know that we work on oil security, gas security, electricity security, but we think LPG security is also very important. Finally, we are working closely with the LPG companies around the world. Only last week, we hosted at the IEA all the LPG leaders around the world to discuss this issue and other related issues, and I look forward to advancing this agenda forward at the annual LPG leaders companies meeting in Istanbul. Dear colleagues, these are some of the things we have achieved. First, we raise the awareness, we look at the data, we raise money from the public and private sources, and we look after the security of LPG for these countries. And I am very happy that we are today joined by key leaders around the world. And as such, I would like to turn to our host country, Kenya, His Excellency President William Ruto, for keynote remarks. Thank you very much, His Excellency, and over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fati. Allow me to express my sincere appreciation for your steadfast leadership in keeping the clean cooking agenda at the forefront and for your tireless efforts, which have helped secure clean cooking as one of the key deliverables for the upcoming COP31 in Turkey. I also appreciate and acknowledge the co-chairs of the summit, the Prime Minister of Norway, Jonas Stoh, Mohammed Ali Yusuf, the chairperson of the Africa Union Commission, Chris Wright, the United States Secretary for Energy, and Sidi Olta, President of the Africa Development Bank. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, today we were meant to gather in Nairobi for the second Africa Clean Cooking Summit, which Kenya had the honor of preparing to host. While unavoidable circumstances prevented us from meeting in person, they have not diminished our collective resolve. I therefore welcome this opportunity to come together virtually and reaffirm our shared determination to achieve universal access to clean cooking across our continent. Nearly 1 billion Africans still rely on traditional and polluting cooking fuels, with profound consequences for public health, education, environmental sustainability, and climate action. Yet the challenge extends beyond households. Across the continent, thousands of schools, hospitals, prisons, and other institutions continue to rely on firewood, facing immense pressure on our forests while exposing millions of children, parents, patients, and frontline workers to harm and harmful air pollution. With less than 5 years remaining to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, we simply cannot afford to slow down. We must accelerate the transition to clean cooking in both households and all institutions. In Kenya, we have made clean cooking a national development priority. Through our Kenya National Cooking Transition Strategy, we have set the goal of achieving universal access by 2028. But ambition alone is not enough. It must be backed by investment, and achieving universal household access in Kenya will require close to US dollars 400 million, alongside a further $600 million to transition our institutions to clean cooking. The financing challenge extends across Africa. Closing the continent's clean cooking access gap will require investment at scale, yet annual financing remains far below what is needed. That is why the announcement we have had today are significant. I welcome the $900 million in new commitments and the launch of the Clean Cooking Security Program. I also commend our development partners for their steadfast leadership in advancing this very important agenda. I further welcome the integration of the Clean Cooking Alliance into the International Energy Agency. I am pleased to announce that Kenya will join as an inaugural member country, reaffirming our commitment to advancing clean cooking both at home and in our continent. Our partnership with the Alliance has already enabled the establishment of Africa's first clean cooking delivery unit, which is accelerating the transition to institutional clean cooking. As host of the rescheduled summit, Kenya remains fully committed to sustaining this momentum. We look forward to welcoming leaders across again in Nairobi and to advancing this shared agenda together. Let us turn today's commitments into lasting impact for the people of Africa. I want to commend all the participants and to thank my brother, Dr. Fati, who I had the pleasure of meeting in Paris, and commend you for your leadership. And, you know, there is a word you have used. You know, English is a very complicated language. You have used primitive cooking methods. I would rather we use traditional. They present a better picture. But I want to assure you of Kenya's support and look forward to taking this agenda forward together. And I believe that history will judge your leadership, Dr. Fati, very fairly for your leadership in this space. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, for your leadership and commitment to advance this agenda, going from traditional cooking practices to the clean cooking practices. Thank you very much for your leadership and commitment, sir. Now I turn to the Prime Minister, Jonas Store. The Prime Minister Store was the co-chair of the first summit together with the Tanzania president we organized in Paris. And he cannot be with us today, but we will hear short remarks from him in as a video. So can we now listen, Prime Minister Store, please?
Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, friends. Clean cooking is one of the most underfunded opportunities in global development and climate policy today. Many of us take clean cooking for granted. We do in my country. But so many people out there don't have that opportunity. We made progress on this track in Paris 2 years ago. $2.2 billion was committed to the effort to provide clean cooking to many, many, many more. New policies have been developed since, and new partnerships have been formed. Now is the time to take our collective efforts a step further. Let me thank my friend, President Ruto of Kenya, for his leadership. It's unique. And the US and the IEA for working closely together with us in preparing for the second summit on clean cooking in Africa. And let me repeat from my perspective the challenge. Nearly 900 million people in Africa still rely on polluting fuels for cooking. So addressing this development gap is really a multiple potential for advantage. Improving health, investing in women's empowerment, creating economic growth, making progress on climate justice, and protecting biodiversity. So colleagues, as heads of government, we must lead with urgency and with clarity. So much benefit to be reaped from this. African governments are leading this agenda, and rightly so. Most countries that pledged at the Paris summit have already implemented new cooking policies. Tanzania, our co-host of the Paris summit, under the leadership of President Suluhu Hassan, has seen clean cooking access rise significantly. And in Kenya, new innovative solutions have demonstrated that affordability barriers can be overcome. Delivering universal access to clean cooking will require a fundamental change in ambition. So, we are on the right path, but three things must happen now. Firstly, clean cooking must become a core pillar of national energy planning with binding targets, timelines, and budget lines. Energy compacts under Mission 300 should clearly prioritize clean cooking. And clean cooking cannot be treated as a marginal issue. It's really a daily necessity in all households. Secondly, women must be at the center. They bear the burden. They will build the markets. They are the community leaders who will drive this change and drive the adoption. Financing women entrepreneurs in clean cooking is not a charity, far from it. It is the most efficient deployment of capital we have. And thirdly, carbon finance, climate finance, and development finance must align, come together. The transition to clean cooking is not only a health intervention, it is one of the most cost-effective climate mitigation strategies available to us. So, finally, friends, leadership must be matched with international partnership at a scale. I therefore call on private sector, philanthropies to invest across African markets. I call on development partners to scale concessional finance, and I call on multilateral institutions to prioritize clean cooking in energy portfolios. And speaking as Prime Minister of Norway, I can underline that we will continue to do our part. Colleagues, clean cooking is central to Africa's development pathway, so let us act decisively. No one should risk their health or their children's health for the simple, vital act of preparing a meal. And let me thank the Director General of the IEA, my friend Fatih Birol, for being a driving force on this, having reminded us and being the one who sounds the clarion call for this low-hanging fruit for development, empowerment, safety, climate, and wise energy use throughout Africa. Thank you and good luck.
We thank also Prime Minister Story very much for his long-standing partner in this effort. Now, may I turn to United States, the Energy Secretary Chris Wright, whose engagement on clean cooking has been a long-standing issue. Mr. Secretary, over to you, please.
Thank you very much, President Ruto, for your leadership in Kenya on this clean cooking fuel issue. Not just for this initiative and this meeting, but you have been a leader in delivering or setting targets for clean cooking fuel access for Kenyans across the country. I'm very proud of your efforts there. I think that's a model. We need other nations. And of course, the clean cooking fuel problem is not just in Africa. It's across Asia, it's across Latin America, it's across parts of Europe and parts of North America. This is a universal problem. The IEA was formed in the 1970s to address energy security. At that time, it was energy security in wealthy nations. We're worried about a reliable supply of oil, the world's largest energy source then, the world's largest energy source today. That issue, and what did it lead to? It led to many nations, including my own in the United States, to build a very large strategic petroleum reserve. Interruptions happen in the world. The flow of energy is just critical for human lives, for economies, and for national security. There is no larger issue across our planet than energy security. I love that mission of the IEA. President Trump embraces this mission. He calls it energy abundance. If we can have abundant energy in the United States and for all our friends and allies and all the citizens of the world, we lead to a more prosperous, better world. That's a mission of this administration in the United States, and I know it's the founding and core mission of the International Energy Agency. I also thank Prime Minister Storey for his comments about the critical nature of clean cooking fuels. I myself have viewed it for decades as the world's largest solvable problem. 2 to 3 million deaths, according to the World Health Organization, for people, the 2 billion people, roughly half of them in Africa, half of them spread out in other continents of the world, that are still cooking the way all of our ancestors did, using traditional fuels. That's our history. But that was a history of poverty, of poor health, of short lifespans, and limited opportunity. I think it's critical that the IEA expands its energy security mission to encompass this largest solvable problem, and that we address it with urgency, with words and with action. Much more important is action and results. We're going to talk about funds, and we need to raise funds, and we need to get businesses and countries around the world involved in this. But money is an input. What we really care about is the output, is the 2 billion people, a quarter of humanity, that still lack access to clean cooking fuels, and we need to be serious about how to deliver that. Business is central to this issue. How do all of us get energy? We get energy through a marketplace, through companies and businesses, and we simply need enabling structures, as President Ruto is doing in Kenya, so that most of this will be small and mid-sized businesses that set up networks that can drive down the cost and increase the access for everyone to get clean cooking fuels. Not only is this the only pathway to reduce the 2 to 3 million preventable deaths every year from lack of access to clean cooking fuels, it's also a massive issue in women's liberation. In traditional societies, among these 2 billion people, it's women that are gathering the traditional fuels. It's women that are tending these fires. It's women that are spending hours a day, every day, worried about supply of cooking fuels, traditional fuels, and that are therefore spending hours a day over these smoky fires and in these smoky rooms. Us in the wealthy countries, focus on the massive health improvements of having clean cooking fuels and reducing that indoor air pollution. I know from experience, the women that are transitioning from traditional fuels to clean cooking fuels, it is a transformation in their life opportunities. Hours a day are returned to them to pursue education, economic involvement, broadening their possibilities in life, and expanding what they can do with their children that are, of course, quite often accompanying them, not just in tending fires, but in gathering of the woods and the fuels. This is an issue about public health. This is an issue about women's liberation. This is an issue about economic security, healthy, long, opportunity-rich lives that have been stunted by the lack of access to clean cooking fuels. The United States and the President Trump administration, this is our top international energy issue, and we have many, but the single biggest one is to expand access to clean cooking fuels. Fortunately, the shale revolution in the United States has made the United States by far and away the world's largest producer and exporter of LPG, liquid petroleum gas, mostly in the form of propane and butane. These are awesomely important energy sources. We need to continue together to build out this supply chain, landings at countries around the world, distribution networks, storage, most critically, last mile delivery to bring the cost down and the availability up to transform the life opportunities of 2 billion citizens of our planet. I can think of no higher mission for the IEA to expand on their energy security mandate that it was founded on and should be focused on, to get clean cooking fuels to those 2 billion people. I look forward to working with President Ruto, with Prime Minister Store, with the Clean Cooking Fuel Alliance, with Fatih Birol and everyone in the International Energy Alliance and everyone in the community of nations around the world focused on energy security, focused on improving human lives and opportunity. This mission is too important for us to talk and not do anything. I can't wait to be with everyone in Kenya early next year and for us to hatch and grow plans and drive progress, not just measuring inputs, but measuring outputs. Thank you all for your partnership in this simply critical endeavor. I'll turn it back over to Fatih.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary, for your commitment and passion for this issue. Dear colleagues, one of the co-organizers this initiative was the African Union, and we are privileged to have the Commissioner for Energy and Infrastructure, Mrs. Mataboje. Over to you, Madam Commissioner.
Your Excellency, Dr. William Ruto, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Your Excellency, Jonas Store, the Prime Minister of Norway, the Honorable Chris Wright, United States Secretary of Energy, the Honorable Dr. Fatih Birol, Executive Director of the IEA, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is certainly an honor and a privilege to join you today on behalf of the African Union Commission and on behalf of His Excellency Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, the Chairperson of the African Union Commission, for this crucial and timely engagement on clean cooking in Africa. Today's session provides a platform to take stock of the policy and financing progress made since the Paris Summit. It is also an opportunity to consolidate our ideas for the second summit and to build directly on the historic declaration by African heads of states and government in February 2025 in Addis Ababa, which made clean cooking a top continental priority for the African continent. I sincerely thank His Excellency President Ruto for agreeing to host the second summit in Kenya. I further acknowledge Dr. Birol and the IEA team for co-convening us today. I express my deep appreciation to the other chairs and partners for their continued commitment to advancing the clean cooking agenda in Africa. Excellencies, the policy track that is led by the African Union Commission has gained incredible momentum. Nearly 20 African Union member states, mostly with the lowest access, have shared policy status updates and made firm commitments to be implemented by the end of 2027. We aim to sustain and, where possible, to accelerate this crucial momentum. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, clean cooking in Africa is not simply about energy access. It is a transformative economic intervention with the power to reshape livelihoods and markets across the continent, provided that we localize manufacturing related to clean cooking in Africa. We aim to avoid Africa remaining a consumer and not a producer of transformation interventions that are required by our people. We also currently require urgent action for the 13 million people who gained annual access to clean cooking over the past 5 years in Africa, as they are now at risk of reverting to traditional methods due to surging LPG prices that are driven by current geopolitical tensions. I wish to applaud African governments that continue to adapt their clean cooking policy commitments in the rapidly changing environment. I further recognize and commend the Republic of South Africa for having elevated the clean cooking agenda to the G20 presidency by spearheading the adoption of the Voluntary Infrastructure Investment Action Plan. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in order to translate policy commitments into meaningful impact, we must tackle high upfront costs, supply chain vulnerabilities, and underfunding in the clean cooking sector. We must also continue to advocate for investment in Africa, for Africa, by African and global partners. We must create local value chains and improve existing infrastructure. This approach not only drives a just transition that bolsters socioeconomic development, it also insulates communities from external shocks, thereby guaranteeing security of supply. The manufacture, distribution, and supply chain of clean cooking technologies will need to move closer to the people who need it most. We need to strengthen and scale up private sector contributions. We need to support viable business models and enhance access to finance for local enterprises. Lastly, we must leverage all available funding opportunities to raise $4 billion annually. I commend all the partners that have made new financial commitments ahead of the second summit. Excellencies, the African Union is developing an Africa Clean Cooking Strategy and Action Plan. This initiative will consolidate policy commitments. It will establish a platform for harmonized tracking and leverage collaborative strengths across member states. I seize this early opportunity to invite us all to pledge both technical and financial support to this endeavor. Excellencies, I reaffirm the African Union's commitment to working with all stakeholders in moving clean cooking from fragmented cook stove distribution to initiatives, from fragmented cook stove distribution initiatives to a sustainable developmental sector for Africa and for the world. I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Madam Commissioner. Dear colleagues, just one colleague left to make comments, and we will conclude our session. This is about a major development in international energy governance. The institution called Clean Cooking Alliance, some of you know, President Ruto already mentioned, makes an excellent work on the ground, and we have been working with the Clean Cooking Alliance for some time. And recently we approached the CCA, and now I am very happy that thanks to our governments, CCA is a part of the International Energy Agency framework. So it gives me a great pleasure today to pass the floor to the CEO of the Clean Cooking Alliance, Mrs. Dimfa van der Lans. Dimfa.
Thank you, Fatih. We are deeply grateful to the countries joining us as inaugural members and for the immense confidence they are placing in this next chapter. Operating under the roof of the IEA will allow us to embed clean cooking firmly into the global energy agenda, while fully leveraging the partnerships, expertise in enterprise development, finance and user insights, as well as the deep country relationships that CCA has built for over a decade. With a broader membership and a more robust foundation of support, both political and financial, our objective is clear. We must support nations as they move swiftly from ambition to actual implementation. That is and should be our only guiding star. Together, we can reach more communities and institutions still living without access to clean, safe, and affordable cooking solutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And once again, I would like to welcome the Clean Cooking Alliance into the International Energy Agency family. And we also warmly welcome the inaugural members. We have 12 member governments: Belgium, Gambia, Germany, Ireland, Italy, Kenya, Norway, Netherlands, Sierra Leone, Tanzania, Uganda, and the United States. And we know that many countries are in the process of joining us. Dear colleagues, I would like to finish this meeting with two last points. The first one is we will be continuing to elevating this issue at the international fora, and the first stop will be a meeting at the UN General Assembly in New York, together with Kenya, Norway, and all other partners here. And we are also working with the G20 and the COP presidencies to keep clean cooking high on the agenda. The second point, dear colleagues, that I mentioned that we have raised up to now $900 million US. Our very aim, and my colleagues here, Lara Cozy and her team, and all the colleagues here know very well, the aim is between today and the summit to double that commitment and to make the number even higher in order to help the countries in Africa. Now, finally, I would like to thank all the colleagues here who participated in this very meeting, including the chairs and co-chairs. And I would be very happy to say that my colleagues just told me 35,000 people are viewing this event around the world, mainly in Africa. I am also very thankful for that, for the colleagues who are following this very session. And we feel at the IEA very strong, as passionate as we have started this journey 20 years ago at the IEA. But with your support, I am sure we will soon end up this misery and help the people to have better lives in Africa and beyond, especially, as many of you mentioned, for women and children in Africa. Thank you very much, and looking forward to see all of you soon. Thank you.